So, congratulations, you've made it this far. This is part 3 of the Testors 148th SR-71 Blackbird A plane. If you haven't seen parts 1 and 2, gotta check them out because otherwise you're missing some good stuff. Right here we're painting landing gear. The landing gear goes a wonderful steel color that I have here. Might not be the perfect thing in the world, but this is it. Right here, we're going to break this little piece off. This is a landing light. It goes painted silver. You could probably paint it any way you want. The tip there goes silver. This will go into the landing gear a little bit later on once all this paint dries. So we're going to just put a couple more touch-ups on here to make this look really good and clean. Here we are putting this little light in. You see this little slot right here? Well, just put your glue right there and grab your landing light and just slowly put it into place. I did not bother scraping the paint off because I hope it doesn't move out of the way. I'm just going on a whim here. Here's some of the hydraulics for the landing gear. We're going to paint all these silver. Why silver? Because that's what the instructions call for, and they don't go titanium and they don't go steel. So just slowly paint all these. I left mine on the sprue. It was easier for me to do it that way. Again, do yours however you want to do it. After we get this painted, we will start painting the wheels. These are the front wheels, and they are painted black on the rims, and the actual wheel itself, Testors said get a rubber color. Maybe that's just so they could sell you more paint. Well, the rubber color does actually look quite nice. It's kind of like a dark kind of brownish black color. Here we are painting the rims. Just slowly go around these hubs carefully. As usual with everything, you don't want to get paint all over the creation because, then it causes a big mess. Just as I said, you go around these. These are what the wheels look like in person too, just a nice black color. Here I am slowly using that rubber color. You can see it's a little bit of brown. I just go around the edge. It dries really flat looking. Slowly keep painting around the edges. Get more and more of this, as you can see I'm doing here. Going around, just take your time. Eventually, you will get all these wheels painted. I set this down on a piece of sticky tape. That way I could just hold it in place and go around the edges. Painting wheels can be quite a challenge, as you know, because they tend to move because they're round, and you always just want to find a way to get them to not move at all. Sometimes sticking them on the actual landing gear helps, but if the landing gear is already in place, well, then you're kind of out of luck, aren't you? So just go around. This piece of gear is almost done right here, and this is what it looks like when it's finished, front and the back. Piece of landing gear, it's lovely. So let's break off the front gear right here from the sprue. Put a small dab of glue in the middle there, right on that hub. Slowly press it down into the gear. Get the other side, and we are going to do the same thing. Just press it in. Make sure all the wheels line up because sometimes those little circles are not centered, and you will see this in one of the, at least the rear landing gear. It definitely is not centered. So this is a rear wheel. This one goes in the middle. It is rust colored. All hubs are rust colored in this model, so that go on the rear. Just go around this like you did the front hubs. Paint it carefully. As I said earlier, the wheel itself is like a aluminum silver mix, so you got to mix some paint in to make that look pretty. You can even do some gray if you want to do that and paint them two different colors, because the sides are not as worn as the gear, because when it hits on concrete, it decolors them, of course. Makes it a little bit different. So here's that mix that I have. Just going over it. Yes, it is shiny, but as I said, if you've ever seen an SR-71, that's what it looks like. So just keep going over this, carefully going around that edge where the hub is, going all the way around until you get this thing completed and done. Takes a little bit of time. There are 6 of these wheels. It's time consuming and it can be a pain, but if you want to have a nice looking model, it's something that you have to do. Here's the back side of one of the wheels. Same process as the front. You go around this edge very carefully. All the way around the edge. It's more than 2/3 done. There it is, completed with the edge. Now just get the rest of it with the paintbrush. Take your time. Do it right. Make it look pretty. get rid of all the imperfections if you have those in the paint, like the little air bubbles and things like that that tend to pop up. That silver paint had a bunch of them for me. So here we go. One of these wheels is done. This is what it looks like, front and the back. So we are going to put together this middle wheel section here. So just put some glue there. Put your wheel in place. After we're done that, we're going to put some glue on these little tabs. And these tabs go in the indentations in the landing gear. So I said there's two of these. There's only one way to do this. That way you can't mess it up. Put some more glue there. Join these halves together. And voila! You have 1/3 of a landing gear done. Maybe it could be considered a fourth. Well, here's the other one right here. So now we've got both of these middle pieces in. As I said earlier, make sure that middle wheel is lined up properly and all the other wheels, because the holes are not actually centered. So if you want the gear to sit properly, you have to twist them on so they're all even and level. So just double check that. I had one wheel that actually turned out raised just a little bit because of this. So pay attention to that. You saw I just put on 2 wheels on that one piece. Here's the third wheel going on the last piece of gear. So we're going to do a gloss coat on this model. We're putting that on. Why did we do the gloss coat? I mentioned in the last video. It's because we need to put on all the decals on this model. This is the canopies. The tops of them are going to go all black. The insides stay gray, so just make sure you leave them that way. Going over the left sides, then I'll come back around and I'll do the right side. That way you know we're not getting paint all over creation. Taking your time, do it right, make it look pretty. Here we go, that canopy's done right there. We're going to do the front glass. After we do the front glass, of course, we are going to do the rear. And you'll see that coming up right now. So there we go. We've now got some completed painted windows and canopies. Putting the gloss coat on the bottom of this aircraft. Since we did the front, we wanted to let it dry. Just go over it as I'm doing here. It's okay for that gloss coat to get everywhere. I'm spraying all sorts of different angles on this bird. That way everything is colored. So obviously, time to put some decals on. The instructions tell you to work carefully and slowly as these decals tend to break. That is very true. You see here, this decal came off in 3 pieces, so I had to center it properly. So there we have that. This decal here took me over an hour to do because it broke 3 different times, and you'll see I'll be able to get it off. I would recommend when you build this model that you spray the decals with an entire coat of liquid decal film. Any kind, I'm sure, will work, because as you can see here, it's broken off. Maybe I'm just not good at putting decals on, and you see it break again. So I didn't feel like showing you all of that because it would have been way too much to show. I worked as slow as possible, just like the instructions said, but it wasn't good enough. I wanted to see how good my skills could be. So either my skills are downright horrible, or these decals just needed a little bit more top coating on them to work properly. So see, I got this one here, almost had all of it, but not quite. So just carefully work the decals. If they do break, you know, I guess you could say just kind of do your best to fix it. And that's what I did. So this side is almost done actually after working it and working it and working it. Here's another one. This one goes up kind of up onto the plane a little bit. The red decals are nice. If you ever want a nice version, the Skunkworks version, apparently the one in DC, still says Skunkworks. So that tells me that that plane was at one point in their facilities getting refabbed before it actually made it into DC. So here we go. This is the left side of the plane. This star right here. This was a really nice star. Putting some micro sol on that really did wonders. It just went into the contours perfectly. So just keep working the micro sol on that decal, that star that I put on the ridges, and anything else that goes on the ridges. You should be okay. Just be careful. Like I said, these decals do break very easily. So spraying an extra set of just small coat of liquid decal film on there should do wonders for this model. Here we go, just working carefully. going a little bit better. I can show you a little bit more because it's not taking forever to put all these on. Just lots of tiny decals. Right here is one for the USAF. Make sure everything aligns up properly. This one didn't break. I had very few decals that did break. So I just lightly dabbing that in, and the micro sol combined with micro set will do very well. Put your number on right here, number 974. And we are going to start doing all the small little nose steps. Those didn't break. I got lucky on that. So just put these on one by one. Watch where you're putting them. Make sure they go in the right spot. If you notice this going on here, it's upside down. Oops, it's permanent. I don't feel like taking it off. So that is how it will stay on my model. You can see the other one. That actually broke apart on the other side multiple times trying to move that around because I didn't like its positioning. So it is what it is. I will live with it. Here we go, putting on the U.S. Air Force decal. Went on very nicely. One of the few decals I did not have trouble doing. Maybe it's just the model and how the decals were, as I said. But, you know, you put a little bit of micro sol on those too, and everything works out well. Have your little Ichibans decal, your tail numbers. Just work on those. Here's where I have the left and the rights. I couldn't find anything that indicates if maybe the L and the R are where they go. These decals here, you want to study this because the instructions really weren't very clear on what went where, and if it was, I missed it. Putting the number right there on the canopies, it said to do that, so I did that. Each of these decals that went right around the cockpit area, I messed those up. I tried to do it the best I could, but as I said, the instructions, there are so many decals to this plane. Getting all the right ones in the right spots seemed difficult because the directions were not very clear on that. But, you know, we do our best. This is the underside of the plane, putting another USAF on there, more micro sol. The more you put on there, it slowly sinks in, and the decal looks great, and I'll show you that once it's all dry. These are just little white lines that go in between everywhere. I put a little bit of micro sol on those too, so they kind of form to those grooves that are all in the plane. These are for the spy cameras. As you notice, I still have the masking tape is still on there because I figured there's no need to take it off yet. Even I'll put a flat coat on this model, so we didn't want those getting flat. Bunch of these little decals. Just slowly put those on. Take your time. Do it right. Here we go. Almost finished with this one side. We'll work on the other side. Lots and lots of small little decals. It's got this little round thing. We're going to put that on because, well, the instructions say to put it on. I don't know what it does. And a square thing. We got to put that on too. If I didn't mention it earlier when I put on that big square decal on the top, you need to cut the center out of that or some way cut it out after the fact as long as it gets cut out because otherwise you're going to have clear film over your model. So here we are, small little decals up towards the front of that spy glass, big spy window there. Here we go, a little close up, some more square windows. There are lots of squares, red squares all over this model. And then these decals right here. So make sure you put these in the right positions as well. Just go across the whole model wherever it calls for these to go. More little decals. I'm just showing you all the little decals, that way you can see them. More square red decals. More red decals. Lots of red decals. Those have some white decals with red lettering on them over there that you see. Here we go. This goes up towards the front as well. That's on the underside of the plane. Once you're satisfied with all your decals, put on a clear coat. And this is a flat coat. I'm actually using a can to do that because it was a lot easier than an airbrush. And I laid it on rather thick. That way everything stayed in place. Here we go. This is the landing gear. I'm going to coat that. And this is the underside of the plane. Once we're all done coating this, we can start pulling off some of our masking, and that will just be wonderful. So here we go. This is the canopy. Slowly working some of this tape off. The canopy turned out really nice. I'm happy with it. Here's the inside glass, as you can see, coming out. And that's what it looks like. I'm happy. This is the front windows. peel your tape off of that. Get the opposite side. Here we are getting the inside. You see that gray color that I left? Looks pretty. Another satisfied customer. There we go, and now we're going to do the rear. Take your tape off and then just pull that middle off. There we go. I did put a coat on the inside. That way when I sprayed everything black, it wasn't going to get into the gray area. Pulling everything away out of the wheel wells. This is just a test fit to show you what it would look like if you did it with the gear up. And there you go. Looks good. Remove your shocks. Taking those off of the sprues. Here we go, taking out the masking from the front landing gear, the wheel well there. Used a bit of masking. There might be a little bit of touch-up paint to do. Here we go, pulling tissue paper out of the cockpit. You can see it looks really nice inside of there. A lot of little small details. Just be careful with it. Slowly get all this out. Taking tape away from that top glass as you saw. Put some glue right here on these little flat pieces, and the slot fits in perfectly. This is the front landing gear. Here we go, these are the doors. Make sure you put these in the proper spots and just hold them until the glue sits. Why I didn't use these little glue tips before is beyond me either. So easy to work with. Here we go, putting some more on. Have these little dots right here and just line that up. Put that piece onto the gear and it's completed. These are some hinges for the rear landing gear doors. There are 4 of these hinges. Put small dab of glue right here on each hinge where the slots go. Press these into place. Not the easiest to do because it's small slots and small holes. This is the other landing gear door. We're going to get it done right here. One, and then the other goes in like so. After that, we're going to take these. They will dry, and then we will set them into place. So here we go. Putting in a landing gear strut. It's got some holes for it. The slot pops right into place, as you can see here. They only go one way because the wheels obviously would fold down into that rounded circular area right there. Here's the other door, the other piece of gear, I'm sorry. Put that into place. Just pops inside of there like that. We are going to get our landing gear door once those are dry. Put a little bit of glue and just hold it into place. It sits right there. Be careful the positioning. One of them tends to touch the wheel because of course it is a model. They didn't get it perfect. This is a small little piece, one of a hinge. Has to position it properly. It goes onto the landing gear and the door acts as a hinge so it holds it in place. So as I said, just be careful. Here's a side view of it. Looks a little rusty and dirty. Didn't bother touching it up. As you know, I'm a happy camper with just about everything. So you see this door has the hinges already on there, what we put on. Put your glue on the bottom of it and just put it into place. This is where one of the long hydraulics go. So it's got that little rounded slot on the end. That's how it goes right there. And we're putting in the second one. You could see there, better shot of that. Just let the glue dry. And I put these on different. I did the one side different than the other side just so you can see different ways of doing this. So now we've got the other side. You can see one side, I put the gear on and all the struts. This side, I'm putting all the doors in after the fact. So here I'm going to put on this hinge, then put on the gear door, and then meet it up, and hopefully it stays. Which it did. We got lucky. So take all the masking off of our spyglass windows. 1, 2, 3, and 4. This is the last one. They look alright. This is the front glass. Peel off our 3 pieces of tape here. Cut your actuators off of the sprue. Use the canopy to align the front glass, which I did there, in case you decide to do the model with the canopy down. Put small little bit of glue down in those squares that we showed you earlier in part 2, and a little bit for this canopy. The actuator is going to go here. Place that down in the slot, and then you just kind of hold the canopy in place, just like this. It's a little tedious, takes a little bit of time. You got to let that glue dry. That's what it looks like from the inside. You see the back in place right there. Pull out your tissue from the inlet spikes and just keep going. Here's the other side of that right there, and we are done. Hey everybody, this is the final product of the SR-71A by Testors. This is a 1/48 scale. Had fun making this model. I did have a couple of issues. We'll go over all those in the review. Thanks for watching. As always, don't forget to subscribe, comment, and like.